Fellow Fapstronauts, I feel absolutely incredible right now because I just got done sunning my... What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's your boy Albert, and in today's video we are going to go deep into the concept of NoFap, of retention, and this video is basically an ultimate guide to NoFap 2022. Woo! So we're gonna dive into everything you need to know to get started, or if you're already on this journey, everything you can expect throughout your journey, because I've been on this for over a year now, and I've had some very, very long streaks, some streaks about 100 days of not spilling the seed whatsoever. And so I feel like I have a pretty clear idea of what this is all about, what the benefits ultimately can be, and how this can ultimately transform your life. So before we get started, I'd like to also announce that I am now opening enrollment for my No Cashew Transformation Program. And so what this is basically a in-depth one-to-one coaching with me, and will help you overcome these obstacles of P0RN, and ultimately helping you tap into your potential and transmute this energy towards your greater good. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, feel free to click the link in the description and you can apply for that there. Anyways, let's get right into this video. When you're chasing excellence, time is your superpower. And what I mean by that is you become better with time. As you're chasing excellence, as you're chasing your better self, your higher self, time is ultimately your friend. And when you're able to understand obstacles and challenges and see them as part of the path, it makes things so much easier to overcome long term. And you start to have this long term vision, and everything right now is designed in a way where it's like short term gratification. And that's kind of the main idea of this practice, is understanding the long term vision of yourself, your future, your legacy, so to say. So understand that time is your superpower within all of this. So why do I say that? Because when people start this journey and kind of start dissecting it online, seeing other people's results, the often thing that I find is it's all very egoical based, in the sense that it's like, what are the benefits? What will I experience after 2 weeks? What about 1 month? Okay, no attraction here from this girl. My crush is not sliding into my DMs, and I'm not experiencing this these magician skills. And so the problem here is that when you're expecting something, when you're going into this with an expectation, this ultimately really like pushes your benefits away, so to say. Because what happens is, with these expectations you create, you spend so much time actually not doing the secondary work of this process. And so I'll start off by saying that does this work, or is this process worth doing? The short answer is yes, but. And the but aspect is understanding that this is a very, very powerful transformative process. And the main thing to keep in mind with this is an attribute to the grand picture of things. And when you understand that, you're not so dependent on this as if it's like a limitless pill or a drug. Although there's some things that you can do, like NoFap and fasting, which quite literally correlate those type of effects. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say here is, this is step number one. So transmutation work is the bigger, better vision to have as you're doing this process. All right, let's get into the benefits. Benefit number one is definitely energy. Yes, it's true. When you're on this process and this journey of NoFap, you will notice your energy levels are just different. There are different points to this journey that basically, this is the way that I can explain it in the best simple terms, so to say. Your brain is being rewired. As soon as you start this process, or if you're already on this process, what happens is that your brain is being rewired. So you're gonna have these different spikes, and if I was to put it on a chart, basically there's these spikes of energy where you feel so much drive and so much inspiration to do things. And then when the urges come in, and this kind of overwhelming amount of energy comes in, you tend to sort of go from this high spike to like a lower, maybe even a very low, and then you start to go back up, and then you start to go back down, you start to go back up. This is what I've noticed, at least. And what happens after you kind of cross that, typically what I've noticed is after about a month or two is where it starts to become more consistent, because your dopamine receptors aren't firing up and down like they used to when you're distracting yourself with so much of this explicit content online. And so that's where it leads to benefit number 2, is ultimately this newfound energy and this new spike in energy is a clear indication that your dopamine receptors were just absolutely fucked up. What I mean by that is this information, these visuals that were fed to you by P0RN that you're constantly feeding yourself with, they're ultimately a coping mechanism for a deeper layer issue, which we'll dive into in a second. But what that means is you're consistently raising your dopamine super high. That is literally the most pleasure your body can feel. And your body is rewarding itself, or your mind thinks you're rewarding yourself. Meanwhile, nothing's changed in the 3D world, in the physical world. Everything is the same. So you're just spiking up your dopamine and then going back down. So when these energy levels are up and down like this, you got to understand that this is a clear indication of this programming that has been distilled into you. And when you're able to understand this and become aware of it, after a certain period of time, you start noticing that little things in life become a lot more pleasurable, like looking at the sun, or going for a walk, or even eating foods that are healthy for you. Like you have this newfound drive to actually start working on yourself in ways that this previous self didn't want to work on themselves. And the reason why you didn't want to work on yourself before is because, well, you might have actually. You had this higher self intuition to do this, so which is probably why you're watching this video initially. But the reason you didn't is because you're so trapped within your comfort zone. You're in the delusion of your comfort zone. You believe that by simply continuing this toxic pattern and this self-sabotage, this lower vibration, this lower self-dynamic with yourself, you believe subconsciously that it's the right thing to do, because your comfort zone is so attached to your identity. But once you're able to break free of that, man, that's where the real benefits start to kick in. Now, let's talk about attraction. Why is it that there's more attraction from the females? So first and foremost, there are pheromones that you give off now, having this seed, having this collective energy within yourself. Whatever it be in the metaphysical form, I consider myself a pretty spiritual person. I've been studying the energy centers in the body, mostly since I've started this journey, actually. But there is a certain drive, there's a certain potency in your energy that you give off to the world that it's your sacred fluid. That's what it ultimately is. And when you carry that day to day, and when you carry this drive, of course you're going to stand out from everybody else around you who is just releasing this into either these pointless hookups or these PMO stuff online, watching P0RN, whatever it be. Of course you're going to have a difference in your energy, because the main thing within that happens is you start to value your seed. You realize that, okay, just because I have the ability to release this doesn't mean I should. So you begin to develop this newfound discipline where you realize, okay, just because I have the ability to do something doesn't mean I should, and that takes away your neediness completely. Now you realize that you have an abundance of options in the world. Now you understand that, okay, it's not me putting the females on the pedestal anymore. You understand that, okay, I have my own power, I have my own value. And when you understand that, well, you're more than likely you're not simping. You're not going after these pointless validation-seeking bullshit, essentially. And instead, you're focused on building something for yourself. You're starting a new business. You're starting a new hobby. You're starting something that, or even if it is related to females, you're actually going out there and talking to females. You're making girls laugh. You're you're in your masculine frame so much so that they just can't fucking handle it, and they just start giggling at random shit you say. That's what happens. You keep the eye contact, you just keep smiling, you keep saying things, and you never break. There's no aspect of you that's kind of restless and itching and looking all over the place. You are centered because your energy, you're aware of your energy and you value it more than ever before. To do with attraction levels, I noticed that your skin, my skin, has changed. I have this new glow in my eyes. My eyes are blue, and when I'm on my purpose and I'm focusing on building myself, and I'm continuously focused on adding value to the world, and I'm becoming the best version of myself, doing the daily, paying my rent every fucking day. What happens is that I have this glow to me because I'm not this person that relies on this recycled energy and taking from everybody else. I understand I have it all within myself. That's what you need to understand. You have this energy within yourself. This is not something that you do just to take more energy from everybody else. This process of NoFap, of retention, is to understand that your energy is valuable enough to make you thrive in your day-to-day. You don't need to take something from anybody else. You have it all within yourself. And the more you understand that, the more you're actually adding value to the world and adding value to yourself. You're really just learning to love yourself more because you're not dependent on the external as much as you were before. And so that leads me to creativity. You start to begin to have new creativity. Why is it that you lack the creativity in the first place? You had it as a kid when you were pure. You're able to just laugh, make jokes, say silly shit that wasn't even that funny, and really not care about the outside validation of everything. That's because you were not outcome dependent. And so when you start valuing your own energy, of course you're going to be more creative. You're going to have this new state of flow that you're able to just to say things and be and act and be this person that's ultimately just doing things without any need for the validation on the external. That's what happens. Of course, you're going to have the new creativity. You're able to sit down and make a YouTube video. You're able to draw. I started surfing here in Mexico, and I never surfed before. Things like that. Like you just start doing these different things that are like, wow, I'm just going to pick up a new hobby. I'm going to be more creative with the way that I say things to people. You don't really give a shit about that external opinion as much. You just do it because you want to do it, and you have the right to do it because you're a free human. You're a free spirit. Okay, let's talk about relapses. What to do when you relapse. So the first thing to keep in mind is that a relapse is not a setback. A relapse is ultimately just a missed mark in the progress. You know, you got to understand that you are ultimately still a man who has hormones, who has a sexual drive. The whole goal here is not to just eliminate all of that, because that is just nonsense. When people talk about never ever releasing, that is just, it's unrealistic. So there are differences between releasing with a partner. There's differences between releasing with a partner, releasing with a random person, say a hookup, or releasing to the screen. The best one, if you're going to relapse at all, what I would suggest is actually build a connection with somebody. This is the ultimate way to relapse. And if you're going to actually release the seed, what I would suggest is just push yourself outside of the comfort zone to meet somebody, to develop something great with somebody. And when you're able to do that, typically that's where I notice, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Just because I release, it's not that serious. But when you're releasing, when it's an emotional release and you're kind of just in the dumps and you need to put your energy somewhere, that's typically where it becomes a self-sabotage, like a depressive state, postpone. So what to do there is to understand that, okay, yeah, you messed up, and it's part of the process and it's part of the progress. And what you do is you ultimately just go back on the journey. You understand that this will pass. This feeling will pass. It is a temporary feeling, and it doesn't mean that you go back to your old ways, which is typically the biggest way to fail, is just after a relapse to just go back to the old ways. No, you got to understand that this is all part of the progress. It's all about how many times can you fall and get back up. And it's not to do with just justifying a relapse. Like, obviously, do your best to not relapse and just release the seed towards nothing. But there's different areas of your life where even during this journey, even if you don't relapse, there's going to be so many different challenges towards the journey of becoming the best version of yourself that are just, you're just down in the dumps. Are you going to call those relapses? You could, but you just got to see it all as progress. It's all within the interpretation of your mind. If you where your attention goes is where your energy flows. And when you understand that, you'll realize that you have the ability to react in a way that is better than others, and you'll have more aligned way to react to the situation and not be so hard on yourself within it. So how do you prevent a relapse? Let's talk about that. The number one thing I suggest is start a list of replacement hobbies. Now, this is something that I like to teach my students, which is just journal down everything. Just sit there for maybe 10, 20 minutes and journal down everything that you've ever considered doing. Even if you don't feel like this current version of yourself is capable of doing that, what would you like to do? Would you like to start playing basketball, or would you like to learn to speak a new language? Whatever it be. Make a list of about 10 to 20 things that you can do instead of this release pattern of PMO. And when you're able to do that, now you have a list of resources to rely on when you feel that way. And there's still that aspect that's just not going to go away, where you're like, okay, I have a list of all these things, but I feel this way, so I'm just going to ignore this list. So what I want you to do in that case is, after you make a list of those hobbies, of those replacement habits, now I want you to star 5. Just put a star next to 5 of the easiest ones. So drinking water, doing push-ups, cooking an egg, going for a walk, taking a cold shower, whatever it be. Just find, okay, that's, the last one's not so easy, but it is very rewarding. That's what I would suggest. Just find different things to replace the moment where you have those trigger points. And the best thing I would suggest is get out of your room. Get out of the environment. The environment is such a big role in your urges. So one thing I notice is when you have urges, say you're in your room, say you're in this room and you have the urge, immediately go to a different area. Walk to a different area and start either listening to some higher vibrational music, maybe some meditation, eat something that makes you feel good, call a friend and just start having a conversation, whatever it be. It's not a distraction. You just basically have this pattern interrupt to understand that, okay, this isn't ultimately my desire to release my seed. This is my intuitive guidance telling me that I need to get up and do something. That is a normal, healthy energy that you can relate with. There's a few other things that I suggest, like sunning your coconuts. Now, there's several studies that indicate that this actually boosts testosterone levels. What I noticed that it does for me is it taps into that sacred fluid, and ultimately I'm able to apply that within a form of meditation. So this, in combination with meditation, visualizing the energy moving from your spine to the root of your head, this is so powerful, guys. There's different areas of the body that you're able to open these energy centers with, and I know this is kind of esoteric, but ultimately being able to close your eyes and visualize this energy moving from that area up to the root of your head. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. Number one is just mindful practice, which is visualizing the thoughts moving in and out. So you're kind of sitting there watching the thoughts as the waves go by. And then there's another one where you can actually visualize this energy being pulled up through the breath of fire. So the breath of fire kind of looks like this. And then you hold. You do that like 10, 20 times over and over again, you're going to feel incredible. You're going to feel all the energy moving through the bottom of this area to the root of your head. And I would suggest actually watching this YouTuber, Sexual Kung Fu. He talks about this sacred energy and the sacred fluid moving up and down quite a bit in depth. So I would suggest doing something like that. Another thing that I would suggest is understanding your vibrational levels. I made a few videos on this. My past few videos talked about this, but understand that there are high vibration and low vibration. And when you're able to tap into your higher vibrational self, you're less likely to fall into old patterns of yourself, because you start seeing this intuitive compass, intuitive guidance to push yourself towards things that are outside of your comfort zone, and ultimately you find the strength to do some things that are of that category. When you're able to understand that your energy is potent and valuable, and you can actually apply this towards building your greatness in your life, then you'll understand that, okay, I can actually spend time cultivating this. And if it's not something you do for the rest of your life, chances are you're going to release a seed at least at some point in your life. It's not about completely eliminating that aspect from yourself, but if you're able to significantly limit that and actually have these different timelines in your life where you do this for 30 days, you do this for 60 days, you do this for 90 days, that's just such a powerful way to ultimately transform yourself and jumpstart your higher self. You jump into areas of your life that are so much more aligned than where you were previously. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. I really enjoyed speaking about this today, and I will see you all in my next video. Peace.